that mean we're? And that is that would have been an interesting mathematical puzzle. How many seats could you get in this room and keep them all at 6 feet apart?
I was wondering who actually did it.
I don't have two people sitting within 6 feet of each other.
Go back to your seat.
We live? All right. I will call the meeting to order. We have a pledge of allegiance, so if you'll all rise appropriately. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America.
United States of America.
For which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
and just
with liberty and justice for all.
That was kind of odd. Need a roll call, Robert?
Mayor Clements.
Here.
Councilor Lillard.
Here.
Councilor Dudo.
Here.
Councilor Howard.
Here.
Councilor Miesner.
Here.
Councilor Rock.
Here.
Councilor Whitbeck.
Here.
Everyone is present.
All right. I have never been in a council meeting like this. We are in unusual times, and as a result, and per ORS 1926701, some councilors will be participating in this regular session by electronic communication. 5 of the 7 of us are out there in the hinterlands. Yes.
So
yes.
So make sure that everybody understands that there are people there.
Okay. So for people who may be watching, we have multiple participants that have cameras. If their cameras are active, you will see them. When they need to speak, they will unmute their microphones and let us know what they're thinking. If you don't see a particular individual, that doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that their camera is muted. So with that, we'll move into our session this evening. We have an agenda and it's been approved, I'm assuming. We have a consent agenda with 2 items, approval of the regular session minutes from March 4th and a memorandum of understanding with the local firefighters union. And I believe that's for some additional training.
It's a new training program so that we can grow our own paramedics.
Excellent. Okay. So unless councilors have a need to withdraw any of those items, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Consent agenda passes. Normally, this is the point in the meeting when we would take public comments. But this evening we're going to hold off for that and move into the rest of our session. We have no public hearings, no unfinished business, 5 items of new business. The first one is a resolution declaring a state of emergency. Everyone is pretty well aware of the situation in the world right now, and this is a way for us to enact some additional powers and to access some additional funds. So, Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The resolution that you have before you provides a couple of things for us that we don't currently have. Probably the most significant one is the ability to do emergency procurements as we need to. The state and the county have already declared emergencies. So there's a little bit of a redundancy here, but by passing this resolution, we assure that we are eligible for any state or federal funding for emergency operations that may become available to us. It allows us to streamline things and to make sure that we don't have any delays as we work through this emergency.
Right.
And I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Any questions for Robert on the declaration of a state of emergency? All right. I'll entertain a motion then on this item.
I move that the proposed resolution to declare a state of emergency be read by title only, put to a vote, and passed.
Second.
All right. Any other conversation or discussion? If not, I'll ask the city manager to read the resolution by title only.
A resolution of the City of Grande, Union County, Oregon, declaring a state of emergency in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and authorizing the city manager to take actions necessary and appropriate to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the city and the city's citizens.
All right, we've had a reading of the title only, and we have a motion to move forward. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Do we need to do a roll call?
I've got it as unanimous. So I don't
Okay.
think we need to do a roll call.
Okay. If councilors would prefer a roll call on these so that everyone's voice is heard, we can certainly do that. But unless I hear, don't hear enough names or ayes, I'll give a shout. Second item of new business is an emergency loan program that Robert put together along with Christine Jarsky and Lisa Dawson at NEODD. Robert, if you could give us a bit of input on that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I did get some questions regarding this program. So essentially what we're proposing to do is to take the city's $300,000 contingency that's in the city's general fund, and these are dollars that can be used for any purpose, and to do a resolution ultimately to transfer those funds out of contingency and into the council manager budget that could then be used to fund this program. And there's a second agenda item that does that budget requirement, assuming that the council approves this. Essentially what we've done is we've modeled this after programs that have been done a couple other places in the state where communities have made available funds for emergency loan. The intent is not to solve problems for businesses, is to provide some immediate, faster assistance than we may be getting through state and federal to hopefully help some of our businesses keep their doors open. The intent would be to have a 48-month term on the loan up to $10,000. These would have to be for businesses that are deemed viable prior to COVID-19. We have a 2% interest rate, which is of course well below market. And essentially what we would do is we would enter into an agreement with Northeast Oregon Economic Development District to administer the program. They have expertise in this arena. The loan applications would come in, a credit check would be done, there would be an evaluation, an assessment done, a recommendation from NEODD, and then we would approve the funding. There would be no payments for the first 6 months, and I believe it's 6 months interest only following that, and then principal and interest starting a year after the loan is made. We've over the life of the program, we think it would cost about $20,000 total to administer it. There are some hard costs like paying for the credit report and that sort of thing, and the staff time for NEOEDD. So we could potentially offer, 27, 28, $10,000 loans if people were asking for the maximum. And we would also be looking at the priority going to businesses that provide essential services such as food service, groceries, retail. The intent there being trying to really help those businesses that are still providing essential services that have been hit really hard. A great example of that would be a restaurant that now has to go to takeout or delivery only. It really creates an impact on their cash flow. This would be something that they could potentially access to help with them. And that's why we looked at the priority towards these types of businesses. The volatility there is much more significant. We don't know for sure what the level of interest will be in this. So we don't know whether we'll get inundated with a lot of applications immediately or how that will work. But we think that it's very important to get something in place quickly so that we can provide a mechanism. The timeline is a very fast turnaround. So if the council approves this and then passes the resolution to transfer the dollars that we can actually access, we would accept applications starting on Monday the 6th. And then those would come in through 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 8th. And then we would take a look at what we have, make funding decisions based on that. People could still submit applications. If there's funding available after that first round, we would look at those until the funds are exhausted. Okay. So that's kind of the fast overview. One of the questions that I got was, how would we determine whether or not a business was viable? And we would look at their taxes from last year and kind of see where things are. The application itself is fairly brief. There are a number of attachments that they would have to have. And the intent would be that there would have to be some ongoing communication with the business and some assistance to hopefully get them through to the other side. And so that's the majority of it. I think it's important to have interest attached with this, 2% being, it's a nominal amount, but I think it's important to do that in part to kind of offset the cost associated with doing this. We know that there are some of these that may not be repaid. And we just think that, this is the public's money, and looking for a way to provide some benefit, but also do it in a way that is fiscally responsible is important. So I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Any questions for Robert?
Yeah, I have a question or two. Given that we really don't have any information about the breadth of the need in terms of number of businesses or how hard a hit they're taking, I'm presuming it's pretty hard, is a $10,000 cap too high, or do we need to take a look at lowering that number a bit in the event that there's quite a lot of viable candidates?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Lillard. When we originally took a look at this, the first thought was to do $5,000 to try to touch more businesses. The concern is that that's probably not enough money to make much of a difference, quite frankly. And potentially $10,000 isn't as well. But from the communications that we've had with businesses and the number of businesses that are hurting, we know that we need to do something. And we kind of landed on the $10,000. Lane County did $30,000, but they're drawing on a much larger base of revenue to do that. I know that there is another county that's looking at doing $1,000 allocations. And I think their total amount that they have is significantly less than what the city's looking to bring to bear for our businesses. Councilor Lord, I don't know if there's a great answer to what the right number is, but this seemed like a good landing spot.
Okay, my other question had to do with information on the CAF about what the emergency business loan is not. And the fourth bullet on there certainly made sense to me, but the first three is kind of the reasons that lead to the first two bullets that it's intended to address. Seems like those things would be legitimate rather than not legitimate.
Well, and so I'll read those for those that don't have this in front of us. It says the business loan is not intended to replace lost business income, intended to fund pre-crisis level operations, and a mechanism to pay wages of staff that the business can no longer financially support. It is intended to help them remain solvent through the crisis and be ready and able to rebuild, to fill specific cash flow gaps in the business's larger efforts to downscale, reduce expenses, and take additional defensive measures to survive the crisis. An example would be to help pay the rent so that your landlord doesn't foreclose on your property and then you don't have a landing spot when the crisis is over would be a good example. We're never going to replace the income that a business has lost because of this. And I think that kind of it's not intended to be these things, is more of a not to do all of those things. It really is just kind of a cash flow, put a Band-Aid on while the business is restructuring and applying for the state and federal aid that I think some of those rules aren't even going to be out until the end of this week at the earliest on some of these programs.
Right. Well, I guess I was just thinking that, for instance, lost business income would be one of the reasons you couldn't pay your rent. So it seems like there's a connection there.
Yeah, and quite, you know, we actually stole that language from the Lane County model. But I do think it makes sense to send the message that we're not trying to replace all of the income that you've lost. It's to help with immediate crisis management.
Okay.
Any other questions for Robert?
Yeah, Robert, what about the time? It seems like Monday through Wednesday isn't a very long time for people to be able to fill this out and get it back into you.
Well, if this is approved, we'll get the loan applications available tomorrow. That should be plenty of time for them to get it put together. There are a number of things that they have to include in it, like a plan for what they're going to do. And we also want to try to make sure that we are able to respond as quickly as possible. I don't want this to be a weeks-long process to be access. I hope that answered that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Corinne.
So how much did you estimate that this will cost to administer?
Over the life of the program, about $20,000 total.
And how much are we setting aside from the 300,000?
$20,000.
So can we inch down that interest rate?
From 2%?
Yeah. I just think, I don't think the city should make any money off of it. And I think that if our businesses fail, the city is in trouble. So we need to do whatever we can to support them. So I'm advocating 0%.
6%. I mean, 2% is very cheap as a commercial loan. Most commercial loans are 6 to 7%. So 2%.
I'm just feeling like that they're struggling so much anyway, and the business has just, completely fallen off. That, I would feel good about giving them a leg up to keep them rolling.
I think
overall that help the city.
I think most businesses are going to be thankful just to get the $10,000, and the 2%. I don't think anybody is going to be complaining about.
And the 2% isn't going to even recover the costs that we're looking at doing. assuming that we got 100% compliance. I don't think we'd make that.
But we're already setting aside 20,000 to administer it, yes?
Correct. And what I'm saying is, I don't know that the interest will cover those costs over the term. So I think we're already going to recover less dollars than we're going to spend administering it.
Right, because if you have $280,000 to loan and you loan it out at 2%, the most you'll get back is like $5,600 in interest. So you're not going to get the 20,000 back. I agree with what Justin was saying. Is the 2% is a reasonable business loan. In fact, it's a very generous interest rate for a typical business loan. I know these are atypical times, and I know that businesses are in trouble, and they can use whatever help they can get. And I think that's what we're trying to do with this program, and do it pretty quickly, because other federal and state loan amounts and monies are taking a bit longer to get down. And I was really kind of shocked to know that the proportion, the amount of money that we would get through NEODD from the feds, or what was it, the feds of the state, was only like $130,000 for 3 counties. So alone, our city is doing more than that program is being able to do. So I think we should be pretty supportive of this concept.
I just feel like our businesses are bleeding, and whatever we can do. So,
right. And any other?
I support kicking it down to 1%, but I also will defer to business people.
I would advocate for 0% as well. I don't see a reason why we need to make money off of this. I think it's a great idea. It's a great program. I think the turnaround is tight, but I think it's really important right now for it to be a tight turnaround. I know that it's a competitive rate. 2% is. The SBA loans right now, the EIDL is just below 4%. But again, I don't see why we would want to make money off of it. And I know that it's going to take some resources to service this, but I would put another vote behind taking it down to 0%.
Thing is, we're not trying to make money. We're just trying to run the program and be able to pay for itself somewhat, not all of it, of course.
But we're setting aside 20,000 for that.
Yeah.
Out of the.
If our businesses go away, we're the city itself is in big trouble. So that's where I'm at.
So a question on that. Do we have any information about what other communities who are doing this type of thing are doing? Are they charging any kind of interest rate or no?
Lane County is charging 2%. And I can't speak to what other ones are doing.
How about other counselors, Marianne or Nicole?
Well, I was going to say maybe what we should do is consider a 1% then, and cut it in the middle from 0 to the 2%. Just go 1%.
Oh,
can I clarify, Robert? Did you say 2% yields 56,000?
5,600 for 1 year.
5,600 for 1 year.
48-month loan. There's no interest for the first 6 months. Interest only payment for the next 6. Then principal and interest starting year 3.
I'm talking about in the aggregate then, what we make back.
depends on how many of the loans.
Yeah. What time?
56 in a year. Probably, as the math goes, I don't know that we would get to $20,000 cumulatively for the 48 months.
But we're already setting aside the amount of money that it's going to take to run it. So I'm fine with 1%. I agree that there's no reason not to.
Well, we could certainly, I'll entertain an amended motion if that's the way people are going. Anybody else want to chime in before we move that way? Questions or other questions for Robert? All right. Motion as presented or amended?
Are you talking about a motion for the entire resolution?
So you could do it a couple of ways. If the intent is to have the loan interest rate be changed to 1%, but to keep everything the same, you could just say, you could read the motion as amended. That would be the amendment to the program. If you have other questions or other things you might want to look at, you could certainly have that conversation.
Okay, I guess I will move that the proposed resolution authorizing the appropriation of contingency to the city manager's budget.
No, Marianne, hold on, Marianne.
Okay.
Back up. That's the next action item.
7B.
That's 7B. We're on the emergency business loan program 7. We're on 7B. What you were reading was for 7C.
Oh,
I move that the proposed emergency business loan program be approved as amended at 1%, and to authorize the city manager to develop and implement the program as presented, or as amended, sorry.
Second.
All right, additional conversation? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Yeah, I have that as a unanimous vote.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to the third item of new business. Basically, this is the resolution to transfer the appropriations from contingency to the city council manager budget line. Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. One correction in the body of the council action form where it refers to interfund transfers, the word should be excluding, not including. So essentially what the resolution does is it takes from the general fund contingency the full $300,000 that is in our current budget and transfers it into the council, city manager, and personnel budget. And then we would be able to fund the loan program that was just approved using those dollars. Under Oregon budget law, moving money from contingency has to be done by resolution, which is the vehicle that we're using. And the resolution would change the appropriation for the council, manager, and personnel from $1,256,281 to $1,556,281. I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Questions for Robert? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the proposed resolution authorizing the appropriation of contingency to the city manager's budget be read by title only, put to a vote, and passed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Question.
Was that Nicole with the second?
It was.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional comments or discussion? If not, I'm going to.
I need to read the resolution.
Right. I'll have Robert read the resolution by title only, and then we'll take a vote.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Grande, Union County, Oregon, authorizing the transfer of appropriations within fiscal year 2019, 2020 budget.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Next item.
I have 7-0.
Yes.
Next item in, I think in the next vote, I'm going to just have people go one at a time.
That's fine.
And then that way we can hear everybody for sure. 7D, new business, a resolution for community block grant funding application. Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If you haven't figured it out yet, we have been very busy trying to figure out ways to provide help for our businesses. I have to really tip my hat to the work that Christine Jarsky has done on behalf of the city. And also big thanks to Susanna from the chamber, who's in the audience. Lisa Dawson from NEOEDD and Taylor with LeGrand Main Street downtown. They've been spending a great deal of time trying to figure out ways to help. One of the ideas that surfaced was applying for emergency community development block grant funding to bring to bear grants for businesses. And we entered into some conversations with the state about that. And that program is actually, you can apply for up to $500,000, but there is only $1.2 million currently available. And in subsequent conversations with the state, they said that what the intent was is to divide that $1.2 million up by the 9 economic development districts in the state, of which Northeast Oregon Economic Development District would be one. Doing the math, that's about $130,000 of funding. And what we would do is the city of LeGrand would be the applicant. Those dollars, if they are approved, would then be administered by Northeast Oregon Economic Development District, with the intent being that it doesn't matter which jurisdiction you belong to. It's not a, X county gets Y% of it. It literally is based on the merits of the requests. There are certain requirements that the businesses have to meet to be eligible for the funding. NEOEDD is very well versed in how that works. And the entities that would ultimately enter into an intergovernmental agreement would have to sign off for their businesses to receive funding. And the 3 counties that are within our district are Wallowa, Union, and Baker. Baker County Commissioner expressed some concern about whether or not Baker County would be eligible to participate in receiving any of the funding, because they are pursuing a separate, for a completely unrelated community development block grant program. So there's some research that has to be done. The NEOEDD board voted on Thursday of last week, I believe it was, in favor of pursuing this funding. We've created a subcommittee that has not met yet because we're waiting for this meeting to work out the specifics of what that IGA looks like. But we're well positioned as LeGrand to be the applicant for this. And again, the intent is, let's get as many dollars into the region as we can to help businesses that are struggling. And so that's what we're asking you to support. And I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you may have.
Questions for Robert on this block grant? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the proposed, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I move that the proposed resolution to have the city manager be authorized to apply for and adopt emergency community development block grant funding, and to sign and submit all required certifications, documents, and forms on behalf of the City Council of the City of LeGrand related to the COVID-19 emergency, including but not limited to intergovernmental agreements and urgent need documentation, be read by title only, put to a vote, and passed.
Second.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask City Manager to read the resolution by title only.
You can get to the right page. The resolution of the City of LeGrand, Union County, Oregon, appointing the city manager as the certifying officer and are authorizing the city manager to take actions necessary and appropriate to apply for, accept, expend emergency community development block grant funding to assist businesses impacted by the COVID-19 emergency.
Robert, could you do a roll call vote, please?
I can. You ready for the vote?
Yes.
Mayor Clements.
Here.
Councilor Lillard.
Yes.
Corinne Dudo.
Yes.
Councilor Howard.
Yes.
Councilor Meisner.
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes.
Councilor Wickback.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. That's much cleaner. Thank you for that.
Okay.
All right. Last item of new business is appointment of citizens to 2 committees. The first of these committees is the Budget Committee. We have 3 vacancies and 1 applicant. So I would move that Scott McConnell be appointed to the Budget Committee for the remainder of a 3-year term, which will expire December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Second. Can I lump these 2 together and then just take 1 vote? Or do I need to handle them separately?
I would do them separately.
Okay, 3 quick roll call vote on that one?
Steve Clements,
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Can't hear you, Gary. Try it again.
Pardon me, I forgot to take it off mute. Yes.
Maureen Dudo,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Mary Ann Meisner,
Yes.
Justin Rock,
Yes.
Jim Whitbeck.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The second appointment is to the Library Commission. We have 1 vacancy and 1 applicant. I move that Ryan Rastro be appointed to the Library Advisory Commission for a 4-year term, which will expire December 31st, 2023.
Ryan Zastro. I second.
Okay, Zastro. Thank you.
Yep.
Give a second. Roll call, please.
Steve Clements.
Yes.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
Maureen Dudo,
Yes.
Nicole Howard,
Yes.
Mary Ann Meisner,
Yes.
Justin Rock,
Yes.
Jim Whitbeck.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that wraps up formal agenda items. Staff comments?
I have one thing that I need the council to vote approval for. Is a letter of support for the city's grant funding application for DLCD assistance with the housing grant that they told us that we could submit. Mike Boquist put together a letter that essentially thanks DLCDC for the ability to apply, and that the city council supports the application for the grant funding. If I could get a motion and a second to approve the letter, that would be awesome with a vote.
I'll do this and I'll move, so moved for Robert's request that the council support support a letter of support for grant funding to complete our housing study.
Second.
Just one question of order, Mr. Mayor. Is this going to be valid without it being on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Robert? Otherwise, I'll do a roll call vote.
Steve Clements.
Yes.
Gary Lillard.
Yes.
Maureen Dudo.
Yes.
Nicole Howard.
Yes.
Mary Ann Meisner.
Mary Ann?
She said yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Justin Rock.
Yes.
Jim Whitbeck.
Yes.
And Councilor Lillard, it was a quick yes. The council has already taken action to move forward with the grant funding. This is just a letter that's part of the documentation that they have to have.
Okay. That's fine.
Anything else, Robert?
No, sir.
And I apologize. Without visually having people here, very few people here.
I apologize. I do have another small piece of news.
And if you pull April Fool's joke on me,
I absolutely am not.
okay.
I'm very pleased to announce that I have offered, and Lieutenant Gary Bell has accepted the position to be the chief of police for the city of LaGrande.
Okay.
Date to be determined. So
Okay, thank you. And I know Lieutenant Bell. Will he now be Captain Bell or
it'll be Chief
Bell?
And I want to thank. We had a search committee that helped that included Nicole Howard and Gary Lillard as council representatives. So we did that this afternoon, and
Okay.
really excited. Gary's going to be a great chief.
And if you're out there listening, Gary, thank you very much for your service, and looking forward to having you in the chief's place. Not looking forward to having Chief Harvey go under the current situation. I did forget, I don't know if there are any staff on the phone that might make comments. If not, we'll move to counselor comments. Marianne, anything?
Just congratulations, Gary, and sorry to see Brian going.
Okay. Karine?
Yeah, I was supposed to have an airport commission meeting this week, but that was canceled. But the bids for the renovations at the airport were supposed to close yesterday, and I haven't heard how that went. So they're in process. They took the bids. They're going to grant a bid, and as far as I know, everything is on track with their timeline to start later this summer.
Okay. Jim? Any comments, Jim?
Oh, for Safe Communities Coalition, the new-ish director is stepping down, Brittany Hargrove, and forgetting the name of the new director that's coming on. But there's a little bit of a transition there. Most of our meetings have, I think we're going to be going to virtual meetings, but it's kind of, in hiatus at the exact moment, like many other organizations. So there's that. And I also wanted to thank, staff, economic development team, the chamber especially, and Main Street for all of the work they've been doing to support businesses over the last couple of weeks. It's been a tough couple of weeks. And we're going to continue to need that support, but especially coming from the chamber. And I know it's kind of, been a team effort for everything that the chamber's been putting out, but the resources that they're coming out with on a weekly or more often basis are extremely valuable. And as a business owner, like navigating all of the information that's coming in and the aid programs and what's coming down from the federal level as well as the state, it's kind of challenging to navigate all of that. And it's been very helpful to have a sort of holistic resource to turn to. One thing I do want us to keep thinking about is how we can support kind of best practices from a business standpoint, helping business owners thinking about things like supply chain disruptions that might be coming down the pike in the next 3 to 6 months or beyond. And just managing staff in times like this. But I just want to thank all of the efforts that are happening there. So thank you.
Very good. Gary, comments?
First of all, congrats to Lieutenant and now Chief Bell for his appointment. That's great. He's very well qualified. And then I also had a question on the resolutions that we've passed tonight. Do those need to be signed to be actionable, or are we good to go as it is?
My understanding is that Justin and I will sign the forms this evening, and then as you all can, you should come by City Hall and sign them physically. I think that will work all right. The motions passed to make them formal. I suppose we need the signatures, but I don't think that holds us back from taking action or moving forward.
It doesn't delay the action.
It doesn't delay the action.
Okay, good.
Good point.
Good, thank you.
Anything else? Justin?
Good.
Justin, good. I'm not going to draw this out, just to say, again, thanks to everybody who's working on the economic policy stuff, Robert and Susanna and Christine and Lisa. Appreciate that opportunity. I think this is a good move for the businesses in the community, and to tell people we're in this together. We'll get through it. It feels weird. It's very, very different from normality. But there's also some kind of interesting curiosity to it because it's so different. And people just need to stay sane and stay respectful, and we'll be good. Now we're going to take a brief 5-minute pause. Everybody's mics are still on. If you want to mute your mic while we take a changeover, I'm going to convene the regular session of City Council. Count back in 5 minutes for the Urban Renewal Agency. So we're adjourned.
Steve, you want to start signing?
Yep.
Productive use of the break time.
Yep.
Get my edits. I would think so. And a good time will be had by all. And a good time will be had by all.
Right. So Brent, I know mics are hot, but I'm just curious. I can identify some people up there, but others just have numbers. Are those people that are? They phoned in. And they're just members of the public?
No.
Okay.
No, those are, one of them is Gary, one of them is Gary.
Okay.
Hey, Brett, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure the phone works. How should we do this?
I just wanted you to talk.
You're live, by the way. There you go. We can hear you, Nicole, and as can the world.
Yeah, okay.
Justin.
At least there's some kind of movement.
When you're ready.
Staff. Gary.
You ready? Everybody on board?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're gonna.
Here.
Here.
All right, I'm gonna bring this into order for Urban Renewal District. So I'll convene the Urban Renewal Agency regular session of April 1st, 2020, and ask for a roll call, please.
Steve Clements.
Yes.
Gary Lillard.
Here.
Corinne Dudo.
Here.
Nicole Howard.
Here.
Marianne Miesner.
Here.
Justin Rock.
Here.
Jim Whitbeck.
You with us, Jim? Jim?
Okay.
He's here, but he'll check in here in a minute.
Okay.
Per ORS 192.6701, some agency members will be participating in this regular session by electronic communication. 5 of the 7 members are connecting that way. We have an agenda. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. 2 items. Approval of the regular session minutes from March 4th and awarding a contract for Washington Avenue Streetscape Project. Unless any agency members would like to remove an item, I will entertain a motion otherwise.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second. Just checking. Jim, are you with us?
Was that Nicole with the second?
That was Nicole with the second. All right, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Steve Clements.
Yes.
Gary Lillard.
Yes.
Green Dudo.
Yes.
Nicole Howard.
Yes.
Marianne Miesner.
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes.
Jim Whitback.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're not accepting public comments this evening. We have no public hearing, no unfinished business. We have one item of new business, and that is an appointment of a citizen to the Urban Renewal Advisory Committee. And if you'll give me a moment to turn to that page, I think that one is me. We decided that we were going to restructure the urban and reinvigorate the Urban Renewal Advisory Commission. And to that end, we have two appointments to make this evening. And the appointments are, let's see, there are 4 vacancies total. And with these two appointments, we will have 2 remaining. The first of these, I think, satisfies the first item, which is a city resident and or an owner of real property or business within the Urban Renewal District. And the second appointment is for an elected official for one of the taxing jurisdictions impacted by the Urban Renewal District. So with that, I move that Roxy Ogilvie be appointed to the Urban Renewal Advisory Commission for a 3-year term, which will expire on December 31st, 2022. And additionally, I move that Commissioner Matt Scarfo be appointed as the taxing jurisdiction representative for a term which will expire on December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Discussions or comments? Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Steve Clements.
Yes.
Gary Lillard.
Yes.
Green Dudo.
Yes.
Nicole Howard.
Yes.
Marianne Miesner.
Yes.
Justin Rock.
Yes.
Jim Whitback.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. District manager comments?
I'm good.
No comments. Agency, Marianne?
No, I have nothing.
Corrine?
Just to thank Christine for all of her work this week. Oh, actually, these last couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Nope, nothing.
Nicole?
I'm good.
Gary?
Nothing.
Justin?
Good.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe.